This 1985 Nissan 720 has been one of the best trucks I've ever bought. Let's take a look at it today. This truck was sold as a 1986, but technically it was produced at the end of the year 1985, so most of the parts fit a 1985. This is a 1985 Z24 from a wrecking yard. It's probably got 110,000 on it. We've got NGK spark plug wires because they're fancy and blue. A Weber 3236, got some videos on that. We've got our little coolant overflow here, anodized TIG welded aluminum, not running a fan shroud. You can watch my water pump and radiator video to find out all the details on how that didn't work out. This is a radiator I got from, I think it was Arizona actually. We've got the Fender fuse block over here. All the accessories and factory circuits that broke are wired into this. This solenoid here turns everything off with key switch power to make sure I never leave a light on or anything and drain the battery. We've got a Deca battery and a Deca tie down, so if you're running a bungee cord or you don't have a battery tie down, this Deca one works great. Just picked it up at the auto parts store. You do have to trim these with a grinder, so if you don't have a grinder or some bolt cutters or something, that will be an issue for you. We've got the old zip tie special grill on here, or what's left of it. Been through a lot and it's kind of fell off the other day and I just zip tied it on in a hurry. This bumper, I pulled it out of the wrecking yard for $110 with the winch. It was pretty rusty. I cleaned it and painted it, but I didn't have power where I was at, so I just scrubbed it until I ran out of battery and then painted it, so a little bit of rust is shining through there. We've got two fog lights here. These are wired into the Fender fuse block on switches on the dash panel. They work great and are legal in this area, as long as they're in the correct mounting area. Also got a small light bar down here. This guy really helps out spot those deer at night. Nice and low to the road too, like that. Again, this one's mounted inside the regulations of my area, so if you want to mount some auxiliary lights, you'll want to check out your local regulations on that. This bumper is a little bit big and heavy for the front end. It actually brings it down a tiny bit when I put it on, but it's also extremely durable and has been worth its weight in gold. Got the fenders trimmed up here a little bit, just kind of chewed on them with an angle grinder. It's really ugly. When I did the bumper install, they were kind of rusted and falling apart, and nothing's really changed there. We got some manually locking hubs from a buddy in Utah. I think these are aftermarket wheels I scrounged out of a wrecking yard off of a Pathfinder. They were like 25 bucks a corner, and they fit, so can't complain about that. We're running 235/75 all-terrains here. These all-terrains are a Dean Tire General Backcountry All-Terrain, and they'll get you through just about anything. I've been really impressed with these. Got some shackles here on the side to mount some straps too if the need be. Had to redo all the steering. Had the old loose steering in there. I do find if you go off-roading, you'll need to invest in some good shocks because you'll blow through those really quick. The mirror on this side got taken out by a tree once, so it's a different style and size. It's actually just straight up welded on there, so it's not going to get taken out again by a tree. This is a passenger seat out of a spare parts truck, which is why it's blue, and I don't have matching seat covers, just because I don't have matching seat covers. One time I had a water leak in the windshield and the blower motor caught on fire, so that's now wired in on the switch panel here, and it has two settings, on and off. The fuse block actually had a meltdown, and the motor caught on fire and there was a leaf in it, and it was just a really good time. So got that all sorted out now, but the motor only has 2 speeds, on and off. There's a way to put the speeds back in, but I haven't done it yet. Got a toolbox here off of a Toyota. I picked it up a couple years ago for like $100. It came with a spacer to make it clear the wheel wells on the Toyota, and it fit my truck, so I didn't change anything. Got the loosey-goosey gas door here, just like the rest of the world. If you have a great solution for that, put that in the comments. I had an issue where my mud flaps kept getting torn off, so I came up with this system to keep them from getting torn off. It's just a half of a box truck mud flap held on by 3 links of a chain, so when you go over an obstacle or something, it has the ability to move all the way back there without getting ripped off. The factory ones get torn off off-road super easy. I did have to replace my leaf springs at one point. These are just units out of a wrecking yard. They were inexpensive and they work great. OE replacements. The factory rear bumper on these things is amazing. I actually got rear-ended by a Buick on Friday. I just slowed down for traffic and he wholesaled it into me, and it hardly even moved the bumper at all. So I mean, no visible damage really, so that's fantastic. You can replace the backup lights and the brake lights with an LED bulb if you want to. Whether that's road legal or not depends on the bulb you use and your state and local regulations. Whether it's legal for on-road use. The backup one makes a big difference if you do choose to do it, but then again, you need to look into your state and local regulations and make sure that's legal for your use case. A tree got to the tailgate here once a couple summers ago, kind of pushed it back to about here. So that was pretty exciting. I pushed it back and it actually still works, although the handle is a little bit wonky. You have to actually just open this up and do the squeeze on the 2 pins in there, and then the tailgate pops open. So the tailgates are flexible. We have a MagnaFlow on the exhaust system here. I found that takes out some of the 4-cylinder noise, but it's still gonna sound like a 4-cylinder. More wrecking yard wheels and a matching mud flap on this side. Haven't really had an issue with that. They do make really wacky noises if it's windy. So if you're camping or something and you hear this noise, that's really fun. We had a little bit of wheel arch rust going on here, so again, I just chewed that up with a grinder, welded it shut. That was a while ago and I really didn't know what I was doing, but it's holding up so far. The obligatory Captain 720 sticker here. Make sure to subscribe. This door has been an interesting story. It actually had a rust hole in it behind the trim that got so bad there was a complete hole in the door right here, and so I decided to try and figure out how to weld in a patch panel. And for somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, it turned out about like you'd expect. This is a 2 thick of steel welded in here and then kind of ground flat-ish. Some of it worked out really good, like right here. You can hardly tell that that's replaced, and then you can obviously tell that that's been replaced. And then, of course, a little overspray here, because once again, didn't know what I was doing. This fender has seen quite a few adjustments in its life, and it's currently welded straight to the rest of the truck to keep it from flopping around on the highway, because when you're going down the highway and your fenders start peeling out to about here, it's really entertaining. This door's been adjusted with a 3-pound hammer just a little bit to get it to operate correctly, and it's slightly out of square, so it's really fun. We got factory tack and factory gauges on the center panel there, so really enjoy having those. Got around 253,000 on there. It's actually a higher number than that. It's just been running larger tires the entire time I've had it, and every other owner has had it. I got it at 220,000, and I've had to do an engine, a transmission, transfer case, pretty much everything else. So this is a passenger seat from this truck. The passenger seats hold up a lot better than the driver's seats just because they don't get used as much. So I got a passenger seat on the driver's side, which does totally work. You'll have to take off the plastic piece right here. It's a little bit of a tight fit, but the lever totally still works, so that's fantastic. I don't mind not having the lever here. I think it's a little bit cleaner, but once again, with this truck, cleaner is relative. One time I was cruising down the road and the clutch pedal fell off. That was really entertaining. Had to drive the rest of the way without a clutch pedal. This door is still holding up. I did learn that if you weld right next to glass, the splatter goes into the glass, so a little bit of a learning experience on that one. Got a new windshield. I recommend putting a new windshield in all your trucks. Really makes a difference. It just feels like a brand new truck with a windshield on there, even if it's clearly not a brand new truck. I do get asked quite frequently if the truck is lifted. I have not lifted the truck at all. It just barely clears the 235/75/15s. So if it has been lifted ever by a previous owner or something with just a slight torsion bar adjustment, the front bumper pretty much brings it back down if it has been lifted. So it's factory ride height, and I've compared it to others, and it's basically factory ride height aside from a tiny increase from the tire size. So I have not lifted this truck, and it doesn't drive, look, or feel lifted So this is just kind of the truck that got me into wrenching and welding and everything, because I just had to replace pretty much everything out of necessity just to stay on the road. It was my first truck, and it just has been a total learning experience. So there's a lot of wacky things done to it by previous owners and myself that I would do differently in the future. I plan on doing differently in the future, but this has just been my learning experience. And if I have a new thing I want to try on a 720, I try it on this one just to see what happens, because that's what it's about. It's having fun and seeing what happens. So take care, keep your 720s on the road, and I'll see you in the next video.